So, you know the classification of solids, but we'll see how these are classified based on Kronepenny model. Now, when I'm going to the unit 3 band theory, out of which the topics that are there in green color are already covered in our regular class. And the topics in red color we have to cover in these classes. And the topics that are there in red color with underline, those will be covered in this class. And rest of them may be in the coming classes. So we start with Fermi-Dirac statistics, density of states, and the density of states for bulk 2D, 3-dimensional, 2-dimensional, 1-dimensional, 0-dimensional materials. Only the equations. We are not doing any quantitative analysis and rigorous treatment and derivations. We will look at only how these density of states plays an important role in the device fabrication. And the recap is that in the earlier class, by Kronepenny model, we have drawn an EK diagram for a given material, and that EK diagram is not continuous as suggested by the classical theory, but this is having some discontinuities. And we have taken on this axis K, and we have taken on this as E, and hence we call it as EK diagram. And this EK diagram is of a material or any material you can draw, of course, but it shows that there is a gap between various allowed energy levels because there exists a discontinuity. Here there is a discontinuity, here a discontinuity is there, and there is a discontinuity in the energies with wave vector. K is called wave vector. And these discontinuities are responsible for giving the energy gaps between various bands. And the highest filled, highest unfilled or partially filled band is called conduction band, and the band which is semi-filled or partially filled by the outermost electrons called valence electrons is called a valence band. But whether it is a conduction band or a valence band, it is a band of slightly different energy levels which are closely spaced, and that band is containing a very large number of energy levels within it. And there is a separation between these two, and that separation we call it as forbidden energy gap. And this figure shows the EK diagram of a classical particle which is having continuous energy levels, and here we have discrete energy levels. According to quantum mechanics, the particle like electron takes discrete energy levels when it is bound in a solid, and thereby here I have drawn only the part of this here which we call it as a reduced EK diagram. Reduced EK diagram is between minus pi by a to plus pi by a, which is called as first Brillouin zone. And we have seen that there is a gap, and that gap is called band gap. Based on this, we will now look at the various aspects of band theory. But before going to see the segregation of materials based on band theory, we should also know that how electrons will fill up in the given energy levels that are available in a valence band. In this valence band, there are a lot of energy levels are available. In this also, there are many energy levels are available which are very closely spaced, and as they are very, very closely spaced, it is almost taken as a band. And in this band, conduction band or in valence band, how charge carriers are taking their positions. So filling up of electrons or the charge carriers or the particles in a available energy levels is called statistical distribution. or distribution of particles in the available energy levels. So we look at first the statistical distributions. Generally, statistical distributions are based on statistical means, and these statistical means may be taking an average or maybe taking a statistical means of mean, mode, median, standard deviation, something like this. Or it is the way of distributing the particles in the available energy levels based on probability statistics. So distribution means that how the particles are distributed in the available energy, allowed energy levels. Because you know that all energy levels are not allowed because the particle takes discrete energy levels, and there also a gap between the allowed energy levels which is called forbidden gap. So in the forbidden gap there are no energy levels to fill the particles. Only in the allowed energy bands called maybe conduction band or maybe valence band we have a set of available energy levels which are called allowed energy levels. In the energy levels, how we will arrange the available particles is called the distribution. So we now look at the distribution functions that describes the probability which a particle can occupy a state. If particle is occupied by the state, and definitely in that state you can find the particle. Therefore, probability of finding the particle is certain. If a state is empty, there is no particle in it, therefore you cannot find a particle in it. Thereby, the probability of finding that particle in the empty state is 0. Therefore, we should have some mathematical function to know whether the state is filled or empty. So if it is empty, the probability distribution function must be 0. If it is filled by a particle, then the probability distribution function have a value. So therefore, the occupational probability is actually the distribution of particles in various energy levels. So in order to have an idea of conduction mechanisms, that we know that some materials are good conductors, some are bad conductors, some are semiconductors, and to know the conduction value or the conduction mechanisms, it is necessary to know the concentration of charge carriers in the conduction band. Concentration of charge carriers means that how many charge carriers, in case of a conduction band we have electrons, how many electrons are there per unit volume in a given energy, that we call concentration of charge carriers. Here is carriers means charge carriers. In conduction band, charge carriers are electrons. In valence band, charge carriers are holes. And this band theory itself will give you the existence of a hole in materials like semiconductors, that we will see soon. Therefore, it is necessary to know how many electrons are there in a conduction band. Means that if you want to know how many electrons are there to keep in the conduction band, you should also know how many empty energy levels are available. If empty energy levels are available, how to keep the electrons is also important. Then there are certain rules. Some of the particles will follow to fill up the energy levels. Therefore, it is not that simple that electrons will simply take the available energies as they wish, but they follow certain rules. That rules are given by Maxwell and Boltzmann, and on their honor, it is called Maxwell-Boltzmann statistical distribution, which is a classical distribution. And this is applicable, this is also more popularly known as MB statistics. And this MB statistics is applicable only to gas molecules. Therefore, other particles are not obeying the rules given by the Maxwell-Boltzmann statistics. So gas molecules generally obey this. And no spin considerations have been taken into by the Maxwell-Boltzmann statistics, and this is a classical statistics. So to improve upon this to other particles, there is another statistics called Bose-Einstein statistics. These Bose-Einstein statistics are popularly known as BE statistics, and BE statistics are applicable to the particles which are having integral spin. So the particles which are having integral spin like photons, they obey this. And therefore, these are particles of integral spin like photons. And the particles which are obeying these statistics are called bosons. Bosons are the particles which obey Bose-Einstein statistics. These are called bosons. And this is semi-quantum or statistics. And then we have full quantum statistics, which are called Fermi-Dirac statistical distribution. And this is known for more popularly as FD statistics. So FD statistics are applicable to only particles having half integral spin. And these particles are electrons. I'm giving one example that, but there are many other examples, particles that are belonging to this group. So electrons, protons also, because they have half integral spin. Electrons are these particles. The particles that are following Fermi-Dirac statistics and obeying those equations are called fermions. So therefore, we have different set of statistics obeyed by different particles, and all particles will not take the same set of rules. Hence, MB statistics for gas molecules, Bose-Einstein statistics for the particles of integral spin like photons, and Fermi-Dirac statistics are for electrons and holes. So fermions, they are called fermions. So in this next slide, we will go to see what are the assumptions that are taken by Fermi-Dirac statistics. So Fermi-Dirac statistics will take one important assumption is that particles are identical. They are same in all respects, and still they are indistinguishable. In general, in statistical mechanics, particles are identical means similar, but some cases they are distinguishable according to classical mechanics. But in this case, particles are identical but indistinguishable. That means if I take one electron here and if I put another electron here, I don't feel any difference between these two. They're identical. Even I interchange these two electrons from one place to another place, then I cannot find any distinction between the different arrangements. Whether the electron 1 is here or electron 1 is here, okay, or if I reverse the configuration from 1 to 2 or 2 to 1, I don't find any difference because all electrons are identical and they are indistinguishable. Which electron is here, which electron is here, I cannot tell. Thereby, they are the particles which are identical in all respects and they are indistinguishable. This is the first assumption. And how these particles are arranged in different energy levels, we have to see it. To see this, I am taking some groups of particles. Say this is group 1. I take group 2 and I'll take group 3 and so on. There may be n number of groups, something like this. There are many number of groups like this. This is n number of group, n equal to I, and this may be ith group. I'm taking this ith group. And in each group, I suppose that there are some energy levels, because a band means they contain some energy levels. I suppose that this group may contain 2 energy levels, and it may contain 3 energy levels, and it may contain 2, and it may contain only 1 or many energy levels like this. I have the energy level something like this. So when I am coming to keep the number of particles, these are only the groups I have selected. First group, second group, third group, fourth group, and ith group. And in this I have energy levels, okay, maybe 2 energy levels, 3 energy levels, so on so forth are there. Now I have to keep the particles. Okay, now how to keep the particles in the available energy states is actually, okay, the different ways of arranging the particles in the available energy levels. So when I take the energy levels that are available, Here we'll find it out how to keep the particles. So far we have not kept any particles in it. We just taken a situation where there are groups of energy levels, okay, and in each group we have some energy levels within that group, and how to keep the particles in it. To keep the particles, okay, next assumption will give you that particles possess half integral spins, and this is a quantum mechanical approach. And when a quantum mechanics is saying that, we know that they will obey Pauli's exclusion principle. When it is a obeying Pauli's exclusion principle, we know that you cannot keep more number of particles as you wish in each level. I can keep only one particle in it, in only one particle in this. That means I have a level 2 levels here. If I keep a one electron here, this is up spin, it is one energy state, and this is down spin, another electron. That means this energy level actually split into two like this, one having electron up spin, one having electron down spin. So therefore, in that manner, you can keep the electrons something like this. So this is the first box, and in the first box I have many energy levels. How many are there? I suppose 3 energy levels are there, and this I call it as Gi is 3 in first energy, and this is the first group. Similarly, I take the second group, and the second group is somewhere here, and it may be having only 2 energy levels, and this second group will have G is 2. We call G as statistical weightage. How many levels are there within this? And within that, I suppose say I have 3 particles. Each will occupying 1, 2, 3 particles. In this group, I have only one particle. Okay, maybe this is the one particle, and the other state is empty. There is no need that all the states must be filled. Some states may be empty. And these are called the number of particles. If I take ith level, in ith level, I suppose that there are few energy levels like 1, 2, 3, 4 energy levels are there. And thereby the statistical weightage is G is equal to 4. And G is called statistical weightage, or in general in terms of chemistry you can say this as degeneracy. Degenerate states, non-degenerate states. So statistical weightage of group 1 is 3, statistical weightage of group I is 4. So in these available groups, how to keep the particles? Now particles are half integral spin, and according to Fermi-Dirac statistics, as it is obeying Pauli's exclusive principle, you can keep only one particle in this. If I say 2 particles, means that one electron is up spin, other electron is down spin. They are 2 different states. Okay, likewise you can keep it. So therefore this Fermi-Dirac statistics supposes that it obeys Pauli's exclusion principle. Therefore a sub-level, not level, I'm saying sub-level may contain either one particle or no particles, that is 0 particle or 1 particle. Next, particles obey uncertainty principle, means that as we have seen the de Broglie waves, the particle shows wave nature, the uncertainty principle will come into action. And the next one is the total number of particles is constant. As I have written in the earlier class, in the earlier side, I have 1, 2, 3, 4 groups. In this one, I have some energy levels, but I have 3 particles. In this, I have 2 particles. In this, I have 1 particle. But in our consideration of all these possible groups, okay, there are I groups are there. All I groups I am taking into consideration, and all I groups, if I am taking first group, second group, third group, and ith group, I will add all the particles in each group. Therefore, there are n1 number of particles, 3 in the first group. And in the second group, in the second cell, there are 2 particles. In third cell, and in fourth cell, may be no particles. Fifth cell onwards, may be no particles. Therefore, 3 plus 2 plus 1 and so on gives the total number of particles. But with the time, there is a possibility that the number of particles in a given cell may change when there is energy or changes there. Therefore, this will become 2 and this will become 3, this will become 4, and somewhere else the other group will lose one particle and may have 3. But total will be the same. That means the particles may change in the groups. Ni value may change, but still the total will be the same. So those particles may be moving from here to here or maybe here to here, but still the total number of particles are not being added or subtracted. Therefore, in a given system, total number of particles are constant. Then they obey antisymmetric wave functions. Electrons obey antisymmetric functions. Then the next assumption is that total energy is constant. And here the total energy is constant. Because energy is conserved in a given system, the total energy is a constant. Meaning that again I'll take groups, first group, and there are some energy levels in it, and there are 3 particles maybe in it. I take the total energy of it as suppose say E1 for first group. Similarly, I take the second group, and the second group is of course having some energy levels, okay, like this. And how many particles are there? I multiply it. In group 1, N1 is the number of particles and E1 is the energy. So I multiply it. And in group, this is a group 1, I'll take it. This is group 2. I take group 2, we have certain particles and its energy level is, suppose its energy is E2, all energy level, total energy of the group. And I take E3, the energy of the group. So if I have 3 particles, N1 into E1 is the energy of this group, N2 into energy of E2 is the energy of the second group, and third group will have N3 into E3, the total energy of it. Thereby, total energy is N1, E1, N2, E2 plus so on Ni, Ei. These are the basic assumptions of a Fermi-Dirac statistics. And I am not going to discuss the detailed derivation of this. Still, even though I am giving some ways of keeping the particles in different combinations and permutations, these are the possible ways of keeping the particles. Okay, but however, you should remember that if there are Ni particles, you should have at least Gi states or more than that to keep the particles. If the number of states available are less than the number of particles, you cannot keep the particles as the particles are obeying quantum mechanics. So in general, the number of states that are available are much larger than the number of particles. So Gi, the number of states in each group, is much larger than Ni. So generally G is greater than N, so that all the particles are accommodated. At most you can put equality, so that all the particles are kept in this one. Therefore, the total number of ways will be like this. I am taking this product, this is called product, just like sigma. Sigma is summation, adding all of them. This is a product, because the probability of individual events is the product of the total events. That means to get the probability of total events, we have to take product of individual events. That's why I'm taking like this, the product. So this product will give rise to a final equation. So we are not doing it because it is not part of a syllabus. But however, if I use some mathematics and simplify this equation, so I'm taking product by taking n equal to 1 to n equal to n, because I have n different states or different groups like this, n1, n2, n3, or many are there like this. So I'm taking product over each of the probabilities. So anyway, you just read it somewhere, but we will go to see the next one, how we would keep the particles. Look at this. I am keeping 2 particles in level 1, 2 particles level 3, and level 4, level 5, something like this. Why I am keeping like this? Because we know that one particle may have up spin and this may have down spin. Therefore, this energy level of 4, E4, is having 2 sublevels. In first sublevel, a particle of downspin, and other sublevel, a particle of upspin are there. So maximum you can keep only 2 particles in this. But we use this diagram later on to see more of this. So statistical distribution, which we have taken in the earlier slide, that is, if you mathematically simplify, okay, this if you mathematically simplify to get how many number of, how the particles, Ni particles are arranged in Gi states, okay, after mathematical analysis, you will get this equation. Ni, number of particles, okay, in ith state are distributed in Gi number of energy levels, and the distribution Ni particles are or can be done in this manner. Gi by e power alpha plus beta ei plus 1. This is called as Fermi-Dirac statistics, where alpha is a constant, e by k naught I can write it is something like e by k naught, or say k, Boltzmann constant, and beta is another constant where it is 1 by t, 1 by kt I can write. So by keeping this, I will get this equation something like this. Okay, so alpha is 1 by e by kt and beta is 1 by t, and thereby I will get this equation as this. And this equation is most important for us to follow the distribution of electrons in various energy levels. Now, okay, if I take this, I'm writing the same. By keeping the values of alpha and beta, we will get this. And this is the equation most important for us. And this equation gives you the distribution of Ni particles in Ni particles in a given level or in a given energy level with Gi degeneracy or Gi number of states. And this, if I take probability distribution function, I take this Gi this side and I'll take Ni by Gi. That means these are the number of probable events, these are total number of events. So these total number of particles are to be placed in available energy levels. Available energy levels are many when compared to the number of particles. Therefore, Ni by Gi gives the probability of finding a particle in a energy state, Ei. In a given energy state, Ei, what is the probability? Hence, f of E is called probability distribution function. And based on this, you may get several problems, at least 1 or 2 problems in GATE examination also. F of E is equal to Gi by Ni is called probability distribution function, which I'll write from this 1 by e power e minus ef by kt plus 1. This plus 1 is important for Fermi-Dirac statistics. If you go for Bose-Einstein statistics, instead of plus 1, I'll get minus 1. If you go for Maxwell's equation, this will become 0 and I'll get only this. Therefore, only plus 1 or minus 1 is difference between the Bose-Einstein statistics and Fermi-Dirac statistics. But still, it has an important significance. Now, here we have now defined what is EF. EF is called Fermi energy level. What is Fermi energy level? Why do you need Fermi energy level? If I want to know the energies of the particles that are there in different energy levels, I should tell from a reference level. I want a reference level with respect to which the energy of the particle is above that or below this, I can say. Therefore, Fermi energy level is a reference energy level. And that reference energy level actually may exist or may not exist, just like center of gravity or center of mass. Center of mass of the particle is the total mass that is acting at, but that point, at that place, we suppose that the total mass is concentrated. That will not be there actually. So therefore, okay, we say that here Fermi level energy level is a reference level, and actually that level may exist, may not exist also in a given system. So, but from that reference level, we will calculate the other energies. Hence, Fermi energy level is a reference level. But how do we define Fermi energy level? We define Fermi energy level in metals and also in semiconductors. And to know this Fermi energy level function, see that f of E is called Fermi-Dirac function. This gives you probability of finding a particle in a given energy level. If this is equal to 1, the particle is there in the given energy level EI. Then particle is present. Probability is 1. If this probability is 0, then particle in that energy level, suppose say EI, is not there. Therefore, try to calculate f of E, whether it's 1 or 0. Then if it is 1 means the particle is certainly there. If it is 0, the particle is not there certainly. So to understand more about this, the Fermi energy level, we will now look at some important concepts. What are the important concepts? We know from our previous knowledge that electrons, particles like electrons, when they are filling in different orbitals around the nucleus, they follow certain rules. The electrons will go to lowest energy level first by obeying Hobsbawm principle, Hund's law, and etc. and Pauli's exclusion principle and all that. Therefore, electrons tends to occupy lowest available energy first. From there, the electrons build up in the available energy states from the lowest value. At t is equal to 0 k, the electrons fill all the states up to certain maximum level. That means here I am taking a system, suppose say this is the system I am considering. In the system, there are several energy levels, 1, 2, and many energy levels are there, something like this. The first particle coming into this system will always be filled in the lowest energy level. This is the lowest energy level. As I am going up, energy is increasing. E is increasing. And next particle, if it is electron opposite spin, will be there. Not more than 2 particles you can keep in an energy level with it having sub-levels 1 and 2 of spin up and spin down. And the next electron will come and here and be here like this. Next electron comes here, next electron comes here. If that element what we are taking is of course having only 6 electrons, and up to this that electrons are filled, and above this these energy levels are empty. We call it as empty states because it is having only 6 electrons in its configuration. These are empty. But all these states below this, they are filled states. And the probability of finding an electron below this value, this level, anywhere, any level if you take below this, each level is filled by an electron. And above this, no electron is there, they are vacant states. So at 0 k, in lowest energy levels, if I go, all of them are completely filled. These are completely filled energy levels. And these are the above this, they are empty levels. As they are empty levels, okay, so these are empty levels I am taking. So these empty levels above this are having no electrons or no particles in it. Therefore, at 0 k, all the lowest energy levels are filled up to a value called E maximum. And below that, they are filled, above that, they are empty. Now, the line, this level, which I am taken as E maximum, up to that, the electrons are filled. So, the highest filled or highest occupied energy level in a system at 0 k is called as Fermi energy level. So Fermi energy level is a boundary that separates filled states and empty states. Up to that, the energy levels are filled, and above that they are empty. So therefore, a Fermi energy level is an energy level which is highest filled or highest occupied by the particles. That highest occupied level in metals at 0K is called Fermi energy level. And this Fermi energy level at different situations may be different, that we are not looking at, but that we'll see it later. Hence, we say that Fermi energy level is the highest field at 0K. That level we call it as Fermi energy level EF. And therefore, Fermi energy level separates filled and empty states or filled and unfilled states. At higher temperatures, there may be random energy, excitation will also be there. Therefore, we will define Fermi energy level at 0K and at other temperatures also. First, we will look at the Fermi energy level at 0K. So, this is the Fermi Dirac distribution function, which we have written in the last slide, where EF is the Fermi energy level, E is the energy of the level which we have chosen. Therefore, you can write this as EI also. EI, ith level, you can choose it. That ith level energy is E level. Now, to define the probability of finding the particle using this equation, and we'll say that at 0K, that means I am now taking this like this. These are the different energy levels, and I suppose that this is E1 and E2, E3, and all their energy levels are there. Now I suppose this is EF. EF is highest filled state, which we call it as Fermi energy level. This is filled, and this is also filled. And above that, the energy levels are empty, no particles are there like this. Now I am choosing this at 0K. And at 0K level E is equal to EI less than EF, means that I choose a level, this E2. E2 level is below EF. That's what I am. EI less than EF. EF is this, E2 I am choosing here, and E is less than this. This follows that EI minus EF. EI means the second level I am taking. Second level energy is E2. Therefore, that I am writing as E. So, EI is now energy level of our choice is E now. Our choice is second level. Second level energy level I am keeping here. E minus EF is negative because EF is greater. I am subtracting this from this. So, I will get a negative value. That means in this expression, if I write it as F of E, probability of finding the particle is equal to minus of E minus EF. I am getting negative. This value is negative because EF is at the top and EI is the bottom level chosen. And T is equal to 0 because we are taking at T is equal to 0. Thereby, I write 1 by minus sign is there, but 1 by 0 is infinity. So, minus infinity plus 1. And minus infinity, I write 1 by e power infinity plus 1. But e power infinity is infinity. So, 1 by infinity is 0. E power infinity is infinity. So, 1 by infinity is 0. 1 by 0 plus 1 is equal to 1. That means probability of finding a particle is definite, 100% probability of finding particle. That is nothing but if you choose any level below EF, all I levels are completely filled. That means any level you choose it, there is a particle in it. It is completely filled. Therefore, the probability of finding a particle in that level is 100%. All the levels below this, they are completely filled. And this is called highest occupied level. Therefore, at 0K, any level below EF, Fermi level, are completely filled. Means that they are containing electrons or particles. As they are containing electrons, in this case, the probability of finding them is certain. Therefore, the probability of distribution is 100%. But now I choose at 0K only a level greater than EF. That means I choose a level somewhere here. And you know that all the levels above EF at 0K are empty. They are unfilled states. Above this, they are unfilled states. So therefore, EI minus EF, because EI now in our case is above EF. Thereby, EI minus EF is positive. Then I keep it in this. This is positive. This difference here I'm taking is positive. Here is positive and K is 0. Therefore, I'll get 1 by 0 is infinity, e power infinity plus 1. But e power infinity is infinity. So if we add 1 to infinity, there is no change. It is infinity again. And therefore 1 by infinity is 0. That means all those states which are there above EF are empty. They are unfilled states. As they are unfilled states, there is no electron in it. As there is no electron in it, the probability of finding is 0. That's why this function is giving any level selected above EF at 0K is completely empty. Therefore, its probability is 0. Hence, this probability distribution function helps us to know whether the given state is filled or unfilled. Thereby, the Fermi energy level is the energy level which is the highest occupied level in metals at 0K. Why should I define Fermi energy level at only 0K? I can define it as any other temperature also. Therefore, I will now see that how to define a Fermi energy level at a temperature T greater than 0K. Now, to see this condition, we have seen that f of E is 1 or f of E is 0. If you choose a level below EF, all the levels are filled, probability is 1. That's why I'm taking in this probability is 1. There will be 50% chances also. And on this I'm taking E. Now if I say it up to EF Fermi level at 0K, this is at 0K, okay? All the levels are filled. Below this, all the levels are filled. Therefore, I say up to EF, all the levels are filled. So therefore, the probability distribution function f of E at 0K is a step function. Is a step function. You studied in mathematics step functions. It is a step function. Exactly, the probability of finding is definite when the energy taken E less than. If EI, ith level chosen is more than EF, then the probability is 0. So this is the probability distribution curve for given for 0 temperature. So now this is the case 1. In case 1, we have estimated Fermi energy level at 0K. And this is a step function. At case 2, I take Fermi energy level at a T greater than 0. When T is greater than 0, some of the electrons will now excite. That means these are there here, particles are there here, but when all of them are filled, suppose say these are filled, and suppose say this is EF, and up to EF are filled. But if I increase the temperature T, some of the electrons or the particles in low energy states, they take energy, they jump to higher states. They jump to higher states. That means some of the electrons are moving above EF, keeping some of the energy levels below EF empty. So therefore, we now define the Fermi energy level at greater than T. I suppose that I choose now a level. All these are filled as per our T equal to 0K or less, okay? And here I'll take above this. So now I choose a level something like this, which is equal to ith level itself is EF level I'll choose for simplicity. If I choose now, I'll get the Fermi-Dirac distribution function, or say probability distribution function is equal to E is equal to this. I now keep E is equal to EF. For simplicity, I'm choosing the highest field level as the level in which is under my consideration. Therefore, I'll get this. This is 0. And as it is 0, if my CF is equal to 0, I'll get 1 plus 1 because e power 0 is 1. Then I'll get half means that at any temperature greater than 0, we have probability 50%. That means 50% of the states are filled or 50% states are empty. Hence, a Fermi energy level at a T greater than 0K is the energy level that separates this is 50% filled levels and 50% unfilled levels. And this is called the Fermi energy level at any temperature greater than 0K. Hence, the probability of occupation 1 by 2 means 50%. So, Fermi energy level at a T greater than 0K is the separates 50% filled and unfilled states. And thereby, the equation, the graph, the step curve which we have drawn will now change. Actually, this is the this is the 100%, this is 50% f of e probability. So probability 1 means certain means 100% probability. Up to EF level, this is the value, and this is of t is equal to 0k. But when t is greater than, suppose say 0k, we have the curve that is falling. That means initially all of them are filled. As the temperature is increased, it is falling down, and it is a 50% one. This level is now Fermi energy level. But as the energy changes, the Fermi level also changes. So Fermi energy level is a temperature dependent. At the higher temperature, you see the lower temperature is this value, and higher temperature T3, this is the value. So this is the variation of Fermi energy level EF with temperature. And therefore, Fermi energy level is not a constant. And it may change from material to material. It also changes with temperature. It also changes with the doping, etc. So that if you know that reference Fermi energy level, you can calculate the energies of other particles which are above or below it. So this is the example for some of the materials and their respective energy, Fermi energy levels. So they have this much Fermi energy levels in electron volts. So we will define the density of states. What do you mean by density? Why do we require density of states? We require density of states because if we want to fill the electrons in the available energy levels, you should know that how many energy levels are there. If I have only 3 energy levels, each occupying only 1, then I cannot keep in this 10 electrons, because that will not allow. I can keep only 3 electrons. So therefore, when you are making doping and when you are going for compound semiconductors or doped semiconductors, you are increasing the available electron and hole concentration. As you are increasing the electron concentration means that the number of electrons per unit volume is increasing. As the number of electrons is increasing, you should also increase at the same time the number of available energy states. If the available energy states are less than the number of electrons, then you cannot keep the electrons in the available energy states, because there are no states at all there to keep the electrons. Therefore, it is necessary to make a device to calculate how many energy states are available. Okay, and then you keep it. That's why we have density of states, which is defined as the number of states, energy states per unit volume. Which unit volume? I have to take that now. Suppose say I take this one as this energy level here on this, and I take here suppose say a band. In the band, suppose I say this is E energy level. I slightly take some more little higher energy level also, small energy level. This level I want to calculate. That means if I add dE small amount of energy to E, I will get this energy level as E plus D. So that means the energy difference between the two levels, the higher level is this level is E plus dE and this level is E. Therefore, I will now write it as higher level is E plus dE energy, and if I subtract the lower level as E, I will get only dE. because this will cancel. So in a small energy dA difference, or in the energy range of dA, how many levels are there that are available to fill the electrons is called density of states. So density of states, or DOS is defined as number of available energy states per unit volume per unit energy. Okay, because if I take a material, solid material or semiconductor material, it occupies some volume. In that volume, we may have energy levels. So therefore, per unit volume, per unit energy, how many energy levels are there between the energies E and E plus D? That means within the energy range, dE is called density of states. And these density of states are important, and they will decide various bulk properties like specific heat, paramagnetism, and other transport phenomena like conduction in solids. Therefore, you need to find out for a given metal or a semiconductor density of states. And this density of states allows us to see the distribution of states as a function of energy, and thereby you can decide the spacing between energy bands in semiconductors. But in general, the available energy states per unit volume are much larger than the charge carriers. And we look at this. Density of states in three-dimensional means bulk. Okay, bulk quantity is a three-dimensional one. Two-dimensional may be a thin film. One-dimensional nanomaterial. Zero-dimensional nanomaterial. These may be nanomaterials also. But how the density of states will change? See, for 3D bulk, the equation is this. This is the energy. So in 3D, this is GE or rho mu, I'll write as rho. Rho is density of states. So this gives you E power half. E minus E means E only, E power half. Therefore, in bulk, the available energy levels are continuous and they change as E power half. Hence, if you draw a curve here for density of states rho V, not GV, I'll write rho V is this. And it is increasing and changing as mathematically as x power 1 by 2. With energy, it changes E power half. In case of 2D, this is sigma into E. Sigma into E, this energy, and this is actually constant, and therefore surface energy is constant. I am taking E power 0. In two dimensionals, energy is constant. And here will be there, then it is a constant value. And in two-dimensional quantum wise, we call it as it is 1 by root E, means it is proportional to E power minus 1 by 2. That's why it is falling like this. And in zero-dimensional quantum dots, we call it as it is delta, means step function. It goes peak and come falls, peaks and come falls. So thereby the density of states that are available in three-dimensional, two-dimensional, one dimensions, and zero dimensions are different. Therefore, the availability of energy levels as dimension changes also changes. Hence, electron has no freedom to move as the dimensions are decreasing. In three dimensions, electron is free to move x direction, y direction, and z direction. But in 2D, electron can move in only two directions, and the third direction is restricted, its movement. In 1D, electron can move only in one direction, either x or y or z, and the other two are suppressed. In 0D, there is no dimension. All three dimensions are restricted for the electron to move. Therefore, they will give you a special properties for the materials. Hence, density of states also important to explain their properties at nano levels. That's why you can see bulk is three-dimensional. Energy is E power half, as we have seen. They changes E power half. Density of states, dys I've taken here. And if it's 2D, it changes step, okay? It is there up to this, then constant, up to this, then constant. So it is E power 0, Aries has E power 0. If you're coming one dimensional, it is E power minus half energy changes. That's why it is minus half falling, and this is 0. 0 means step function, a step and function. Like this, it changes. Therefore, in the next class, we will look at the segregation of materials and solids by band theory of solids by Kronepenny model. So thereby the Kronepenny model